Please go ahead, sir.
Thank you so much, Anup. Thank you so much. So good morning, ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, students and faculties from across the nation, various engineering colleges, universities attending this program. Myself, Neeraj Arora, I would like to welcome you all to this another wonderful webinar being organized by ASSOCHAM National Council on Education. So friends, as you know, that ASSOCHAM National Council on Education is regularly organizing the webinars on national education policy and its effective implementation, and the current issues and challenges being faced by our primary, secondary, and higher education institutions during this pandemic time especially. So friends, in this series, the chapters, regional chapters of ASSOCHAM National Council on Education are regularly organizing the programs on related issues. And today's webinar is, one of them. So in the series, our today's webinar is on research and innovation best practices in higher education. And for this purpose, we have very, very eminent speakers, starting with Dr. Mangesh Karatji, who is the Executive President, MIT Art, Design and Technology University, Pune. Welcome, Mangesh ji. We have Mr. Arvind Sitaraman ji, Managing Director and CEO, Cisco Systems India. Welcome, sir. We have Professor Dr. Siddharth Javade ji, Vice Chancellor, Vishwakarma University, Pune. Welcome, sir. We have Professor Prabhat Ranjan ji, Vice Chancellor, DY Patil, DMTB University, Pune. Welcome, sir. And we have Dr. Anant Chakradev ji also with us, who is Pro Vice Chancellor, MIT EDT University, Pune. And friends, for this wonderful session, we have Dr. Ramachandra Pujari ji, who is the Director, Strategic Planning, MIT EDT University, Pune. He is the moderator for the session. So I'll not take much time and would request Ramachandra ji to please start the session, sir. Over to you, sir.
I'll just start with my slogan usual. First, let me welcome you all. Trailokya Sampada Lekaya Samulekana Vitaye Sachidananda Rupaya Shivaya Prabhu. Once again, let me welcome you all for this August gathering. It was indeed a great pleasure welcoming you all, the panelists, great known person in this whole country, as well as to the part, the ex-MD as well as CEO of Cisco Systems, who is none other than Mr. Arvind Sitaraman, who has, with a very short notice, who has accepted to be the chairman of this particular, the panelist, where we would like to have. When we talk about moment, we just told him research and innovation topic we would like to have discussion. Immediately accepted. Welcome you, Mr. Arvind. And we also have the wonderful eminent speakers as well here. Professor Prabhat Ranjan sir, who is the Vice Chancellor of Namaskar sir, welcome you. Who is the Vice Chancellor of DY Patil Deem University, Navi Mumbai. And we have another eminent speaker who is from another university, who is Vishwakarma University, Pune, who is Vice Chancellor of that, Siddharth Javade sir. Sir, welcome you sir again. And we also have Mr. Arora ji, who is just spoken. He is another dynamic human being who is taking care of this ASSOCHAM, and they are organizing many these kind of interesting trends, not only in research but other kind of areas. So the fact of going for this particular topic, when we thought of with the paras, this is exactly organized by the private organization of private consortium, private universities of government, the Maharashtra state plus ASSOCHAM combined with this. So the thought of this particular process with the president, Dr. Mangesh Karat sir of this para, has think what could be we have to ensure. There was national education policy says one of the thing is that, so we need to have the research universities, one of the most important topic in NEP 2020. So suddenly he just thought, okay, there are great, the speakers in this, and they are great people where they can contribute into this particular part. Before that, let us see into the, what is the implementation of this NEP. So he thought, so that is the reason we are able to have the topic of this particular one is that what we can have is that the research and innovation best practices for this higher education system on that. So the NEP, I just take 2 minutes on that. Major issues, marriage, this thing, everything has been framed out by the chairman of this NEP 2020, the Kasturi Rangan sir team. So he has also given what kind of challenges we had and how we can overcome those and what could be the system supposed to be in that. So in that, he has mentioned many things on that, starting from revamping curriculum, pedagogy, assessment, student support, reaffirming the integrity of the faculty, institutional leadership, establishment of, most important, this is the one, establishment of National Research Foundation, governance of higher education system by the independent boards, having academic and administrative autonomy, light but tight regulation by the single regulator by for the higher education system. You know the meaning what I mean to say. I'm not going into it, but for the sake of Arvindji, I want to just say, so there will be a higher education council of India rather having many regulator body where we have 14 plus regulator body in this country. So we will, the government of India thought, let us have a one single regulator body who can assist and who can, it is not the regulation who can ensure the, what do you call, the run the system in such a way that they can be a facilitator, not the, what do you call, the regulator on that. So increasing all this to ensure so equity and inclusion so that our system will ensure the better perspective compared to the other countries' education system, how it is happening. And it has been not only the, what you call, the thought of only for the engineering purpose, but there was a creative model and the creative mode, which was what you call, the design by the whole system or the whole team of Dr. Kasturi Rangan sir. They had about the developing curiosity, teamwork, play-based diversity, sorry, the discovery-based learning, I mean, the blended learning, self-identity, ethics, art, crafts, and the relationship with the, what do you call, the nature. So all this has been considered and they made to ensure by 2035, the 50% of whole India gross enrollment ratio has to be. And more importantly here, they have taken is that holistic and multidisciplinary education, where it will have the flexibility of the subject, which has been supposed to be introduced for this higher education system. So the higher education institution must ensure the research intensive and the teaching intensive universities and the autonomous degree granting colleges. And most importantly, they announced that model multidisciplinary education and research the universities on that. With this particular, what do you call, the thought, our PERA president, Dr. Mangesh Karad sir and his team, the entire PERA team has thought of this. Let us have the, what do you call, the major, the area which is reforming in the higher education system, that is the research and innovation and its best practices, how it will affect into the higher education system. In this regard, we thought of this particular, what do you call, the webinar on this. So with this particular, what do you call, the intro or the what do you call, the conceptual note, I would like to just introduce to you and invite Mr. Arvind Sitaraman, who is the great model in this and with great known inventor for this particular, what do you call, the area. I just want to introduce first speaker, who is also the chairman of this particular, what do you call, the panel. I just want to give you a brief. It is if I go on introduce about Arvind, it will take more than 2 hours to me, because he's that kind of work he has done in his what do you call, the during his tenure at Cisco Systems. So I just Arvind Sitaraman is the computer scientist with over 36 years of work experience. And in the Cisco system, he was leaded inventors with 57 patents. He led and was part of the several international standard bodies when during his tenure at Cisco Systems. He managed all Cisco's research and development activities in India from 2007 to 2009. He sponsored the Innovation Hub to incubate new technologies and create solutions for emerging countries. In 2008, he has created Cisco, one of the most important technology in that, ASR 901. In 2013, the C2700. He led Cisco India CSR efforts and launched several successful programs, including Feed a Child and Adopt a School. Under his tenure, there are many schools have been adopted to ensure, funded by the Cisco system to ensure they come to the technology-oriented one. He also rehabilitated, the tsunami victims in South India, championed flood relief efforts in Karnataka 2009. Mr. Arvind created a project called Samudaya, a volunteer-led program to rehabilitate the village through the technology and build 23 homes and 1 hospital and 2 schools. Arvind morphed this project into a vehicle to deliver inclusive growth worldwide. In 2000, October 2010, he was appointed as a president, Inclusive Growth Cisco System India Limited. Recognizing his social contribution, the state of government of Karnataka conferred on him in its highest civilian decoration, the Rajyotsava Award in 2012. In 1994, Arvind was co-founded Prakash, an organization Influence India Policy in USA. He published several papers in strategic and social issues, several Indian and foreign journals. In 1996, he was invited to visit the National Human Rights Commission of India, relocating India in 2000. Arvind re-stabilized Prakash as a whatisindia.com. Now he's leading that, and he's organized strategy papers and digitized innocent encryptions. He's the member of Asia Center Policy Think Tank in Bangalore. Arvindji co-founded Sivagami Ammal Memorial Trust to promote Indian culture and art. Serve on the advisory board of Akshaya Patra, who is feeding the poor children, and Nanobi, the big data analysis. In 2010, he wrote and produced an opera on the first woman freedom fighter of India called Abbakka Rani, that is Queen of Spices. He also, now today he owns the What is India Publisher Private as a chairman and CEO, and he's the man who I am producing, who I am giving you all. Arvind, the dais is yours. And once again, Arvind, welcome you all. Welcome you for this particular August gathering. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Harish ji, can you pass me the ball? So while that is being done, thank you, Ramu, for introduction, as well as the opportunity to be on this panel and talk to you all. I still don't have the share rights. There you go. I have a set of slides, not too many slides. Taking a while to load. Okay, so as it's loading, let's quickly chat about the topic of discussion today, which is innovation. The way I look at innovation is how does it benefit the country? So there is one thing that for individual benefit and the other one is for national benefit. So how does one innovate for the country? So several studies in the world have shown that India was the, let me see, how do I go to the next slide here? Now, I've shown that India was the second largest country in terms of GDP terms in 1820. This is before the British Raj took over, but already controlled by the East India Company. Just about 100 years before that, India was the largest economy in the whole world. More than 25% or 30% of the world's economy. But when we got independence, our economy was less than 5% of the world. And in 2005, because of continuous several decades of communist policies, we were only 1.7 of the world economy. But in 2050, we are expected to become 16% of the world economy. So that is a 10 times or close to 10 times growth in the economy as we see it. How are we going to do this? This is not going to be business as usual, right? If we want to 16% of the world economy or more, we have to do something different. So when there's a balance of payment crisis had that happened in early 90s, the license Raj was disassembled, and then the economy kind of opened up and things got a lot better. Since then, we have not had such cataclysmic crisis in India, but unfortunately, we seem to be reacting to crisis and then coming up with a policy. But the good news is that last year, a new education policy was launched in 2020. This basically sought to overthrow two other earlier policies that were there, which are mutated versions of the British education system in India, which started in 1835. The British basically wanted us to develop a lot of compliant clerks and employees so that they can work for the English Raj. That's not going to meet our requirements of today. If we want to achieve 10x growth in the next 30 years, what is it that we need to do? We'll switch to the next slide. So in general terms, when we look at life, we always plot the individual's achievement on the x-axis and fulfillment, on the y-axis, and the fulfillment on the x-axis. What India is that essentially we have been growing a lot of people without leadership. And even those who get into the second quadrant, the higher quadrant of achievement, which is selfish leadership, there are only some of them there. Now, that is not going to be enough of a catalyst to propel this nation into a much greater growth rate. We need to sort of move people into the fourth quadrant, which is selfless and enlightened leadership. And that's basically going to be what I'm going to be talking about today, the issues that we face and how do we need to deal with them. Many Indian students, or I should say most Indian students, even if they aspire for something different, their parents and teachers will tell them, no, become employees, go get a job. So even if the parents or teachers are willing to support the students, the parents or teachers don't have the real life experience. They haven't run a business, they haven't started something, they haven't innovated something. So therefore, they are unable to help this aspiration of the child or the student to get to something else. So what ends up happening is a student, when he or she graduates, they want a startup salary and work quality of a startup. They want benefits and facilities of an MNC. They want the job security of a government position. They want the work content of a PSU. They want the job mobility of an unorganized sector. And they want the internal fulfillment of an NGO. Now, we know this is not really practical, but that is the expectation of every job seeker who comes into the market. And it's a very, very hard thing to say. Some of these are actually encouraged by the teachers themselves. In fact, in many prominent schools, when I go to hire, the first question they ask is, what new product am I going to create? Well, that is not going to really happen. You know, growth in technology has to be slow and steady. It has to start with grunt work, and over a period of time, you have to evolve to leadership positions and do interesting work for new products and new markets. So this requires a lot of patience that many people don't have. One of the important things that people need in order to succeed in this environment are three things. I call this the ACE model. I used to teach this to the top talent in Cisco to train them to become good innovators and create new technologies. So I'm going to share this this one slide itself would be about an hour presentation. I'm going to make it into 2 or 3 minutes so that you can absorb the essence of what I'm trying to say, and then we can handle some of this in the Q&A. This is called the ACE model. ACE model is basically 3 things: aspiration, capability, and execution. If you don't have any one of these, an individual cannot be successful. In India, what happens is most students are extremely aspirational. They want all the things in the world. That's great. But sadly, they don't have the capabilities because the education system, as we talked about, is very regressive and kind of brings it up. National economic, the education policy is opening up a lot of things, but it still does not fix the problem that was one created earlier on. So, and these students don't have the mentorship network either to go forward. Recently, though, I'm finding a lot of young people, last 6 years, I've been working with a lot of young people, mentoring them. But what I'm finding is they do not have a penchant for it. They somehow think that if they aspire for something, success is going to come to them. I never could understand why till I had conversations with many young people, and I learned that this is a concept that many movies give young people, saying that you want something and you want it really, really hard, and somehow success is going to come to you. It doesn't happen in real life. You have to work for it. And some people gave me examples of real life leaders who have nearly not done anything, but whose parents have achieved something, and therefore they have become successful. So these essentially have become the role models for many young people, and they think if they aspire, that's enough. The sad part is that is not enough. You need the aspiration, you need to develop the capabilities, and you need to work very, very hard for you to be able to be successful. Next slide. There you go. So the other issue that we have in India is a bit of mixed metaphors. We mix a lot of metaphors in India. And this is one thing that I found. People confuse discovery with invention with innovation. These are 3 different. A discovery is trying to figure out a new way of doing things. An invention is a way for you to demonstrate that it can work. And innovation means that how do you take it to market to make it pervasive, that anybody in the world can buy and can have access to what you have created. So these are 3 different things that one need to remember. And the focus for each of them is very. For discovery, what you need is exposure. In many cases, what I found was when I was invigilating for PhD dissertation or graduate level dissertation, most of the papers that are published in their biblio will be a bunch of textbooks. Now, you cannot learn things by just reading textbooks. So it has to be much more than that. So you need to have an exposure to something, discover something new. For invention, you need an environment where you can experiment with something and be allowed to fail. In India, we don't allow people to fail. If a student comes home with 98% marks, the first question the parent asks is, why didn't you get the other 2? Now, rewarding somebody for what they've achieved, but you're castigating them for not getting that 2% extra points. Third is innovation. For innovation, you need a strategic focus. For that, you need mentorship. You need people to tell you or show you the way forward, because otherwise you can think that you've discovered a phenomenal thing that can move heavy objects and easy to operate. And then you realize this is a wheel that has been invented several thousand years ago or innovated several thousand years ago. So these are 3 different things Then there are different kinds of innovation models. People don't realize that innovation is not monolithic. It comes in multiple forms. At the bottommost of the pyramid is the copycat model, which is the Chinese model. They take a product, create sell it cheap. Often the quality of the product is terrible, but because it's so cheap, people end up buying it. Second is a service-oriented localization model, which is the Indian model. We rent out people so that other people who have ideas will use these people to make something new. And these executors. This works very well in India with the old system of education because our whole focus was to raise employees. So this model really worked in India, as we can see in many companies that are there. Third is the Japanese, where they reverse engineer a product, and the quality of the new product is so great that it's even better than the former, and it is cheaper, and the quality is better. It has more features, and the quality is better, and it's cheaper. This is the Japanese model. Then you have two Western models, disruptive and new market models. These are products which disrupt existing systems at various places in the world using mechanized gadgetry. Second thing is to sell you something you really don't need, but you sort of get addicted to it and you can't live without it. These are the two markets coming from the West. The final one, transformation model, which essentially transforms the lives of people based on their individual need, and therefore to get there. And this is the Atmanirbhar that there are very few people in this space, and this is an area where one can really get into. It's a very busy slide, and usually I have several quizzes at the end of this thing. But essentially, you can see here is the Chinese screen. I don't know if you see my mouse moving. And then you have the Indian model on the right, low IP, both of them. And it's with this Chinese model is very local. People in China use it and so on and so forth, or local communities. The Indian model is more global, low IP. Japanese model, which basically go and recreate something which is a reverse engineering model, which is Huawei, Larsen Kubro, Mahindra, Maruti fall in this thing, Sony. Then you have the new Western model, the new market, and the disruptive market, and the Cisco, Microsoft, Facebook, Cisco, Microsoft, MasterCard. And then you have the new markets, which is Apple, Twitter, Facebook, Procter & Gamble, Unilever, and those kind of guys. There are very, very few. One is a good example of a transformational model. It's global, moderate IP, but it addresses a lot of local needs of various people. Twitter and Facebook products, they are the digital equivalents of Pepsi and Coca-Cola. If they go away, nobody will miss them. Get completely addicted to it, and it's bad for your health. Okay, so that is the kind of thing, but unfortunately, the whole world is hooked on these products. The road to wisdom, how do we come to conclusion, is very long. We think wisdom is monolithic. It is not. Let me break it down. So there is data that forms information. Information makes knowledge, and knowledge becomes wisdom. So the Indian system, education system, predominantly on data, and right now the national education policy is trying to open it up to information. What we need to do is not essentially give our students data, show them where the data is, let them go get the data. We need to help them to form the data, form them into information, and therefore make up knowledge in their mind. And then let them the tools and the capabilities to develop the intuition that is required for them to develop the wisdom. The learning process today, the way I look at it, and in my experience as well as our ancient method, essentially gets into 4 parts. All of them are equal. Self-learning, instructional learning, peer learning, and experience. 4 are equal parts. Most of our education system focuses only on the instruction part of education, everything else. Which is a very dangerous trend, because in this modern world, by people who have never innovated. You cannot be taught business by people who've never run a business. So that is different. So you need to learn to develop these four things. The national education policy has broken down the instruction element to self-learning. It's included self-learning, a little bit of peer learning, but not that much experience. So it's gone a lot far. I mean, Professor Kasturi Rangan is very eminent, and there are very eminent people on the panel. They've really thought through and they've taken it to the next stage, but to get done. So once you've accrued all these things over here, all the knowledge that you have, you now need to absorb it. So I mean, this information from that you gathered here needs to be absorbed, and that needs to become knowledge. And once you have the knowledge and you develop intuition, then you assimilate. This is a long process that one needs to go through, and there are no shortcuts to this learning. Many people who ask me to come and talk about innovation think that I'm going to give them some kind of secret mantra, tell them how to do it. You know, there is a reason why people say that innovation is 95% inspiration. So there is inspiration element that is there, but there's a lot of perspiration that one needs to go through. This is my final slide. I'll leave you with this. There are two inhibitors to success, and I've seen that prevalent all through the country, regardless of ethnicity, language, age, caste, religion, creed, whatever you want to call it, divisions that we've created in the world. This is there through fear of failure, and then there is an indecision. So I've already given you, you are taught very, very young age, and the system continues to promote a lack that you should not fail. If you fail, I've talked about the 98% mark issue. If you fail, you're considered not good enough. And there is a huge amount of failure, and people are very, very scared to do new things. The second thing, most of the information that's coming to students today is based on data shoving data down their throat. So they never make the decision to assimilate it to the information or it as a knowledge. And therefore, they don't have the intuition to become wise about certain subjects. And therefore, the first war that they face is the Mahabharata war. Non-seasoned warrior in the Mahabharata war and expect to be successful. And this is where we need to really address. The National Education Policy 2020 is a phenomenal step forward. It removes barriers that have been created since independence, artificial barriers, but a lot of work needs to be done local level, at the university level, at the college level, and at the teacher level. And for that, the teachers' programs need to be created to upgrade the teachers and their knowledge, become good innovators, so that we can move more and more students into to become enlightened and selfless leaders. Back to you, Harish ji.
Thank you so much.
I'm done with my presentation. So, Harish.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Arvind ji. Wonderful insights about the success and the important education as well as the research. Surely it will help for our community of higher education system. Yes, we will move to the next eminent speaker. We have with us Professor Siddharth Javade sir, who is the Vice Chancellor of Vishwakarma University, Pune. He has completed his research, that's PhD from IIT Mumbai. He has multifaceted experience in education, research, innovation, IPR, and technology commercialization. He is a qualified patent attorney and mentored several innovative projects right from ideation to commercialization. Professor Siddharth Javade sir is a co-inventor of the affordable housing technology for smart gram, an initiative by the President of India office, the Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs, affordable sustainable housing accelerators, which you would have heard about ASSOCHAM. I mean, award was given to the innovative housing technology January 1, 2021 at the hands of Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji. He was the Director of Innovation and IPR at Asian Institute of Technology, Thailand. He has been international consultant for Asian Development Bank, an UNESCO resource person to the World IPR, the Intellectual Property Organization. He has been published many research papers and patents in his credit. He has authored a book titled Nanotechnology, Intellectual Property Rights, Research, Design, Commercialization, published by CRC Press. Dr. Siddharth Sir has been site director of the National Science Foundation, that is NSF, Energy Smart Electronic System Center at the Vishwakarma, established in collaboration with the State University of New York, Binghamton, USA. He has been the technical advisory group member to review the proposals under the Reinvent the Toilet Challenge India funding opportunity announced by the BIRAC with support from Department of Biotechnology and Bill and Melinda Gates Foundations. He has been developed intellectual property policy for the Sultan Qaboos University, Muscat, Oman. He has involved in the development of innovation management program at Oman and the Office of Prime Minister, Cameroon, Africa. He has initiated industry assistance innovation program in the Center of Excellence in the Nanotechnology and Asian Institute of Technology, Thailand, focusing on the renewable technologies. Siddharth Sir has contributed significantly to the building of new platforms for higher education and their implementation, such as IPR, internalize to merge intellectual property rights in education systems seamlessly. It is a well integrated Indian education system in the World Bank funded project on that. So let us welcome Dr. Professor Siddharth Javade, who is the Vice Chancellor of Vishwakarma University. Sir, I welcome you for this August gathering. Dice is yours, sir.
Thank you, Professor Pujari, and very good afternoon to all and respected E-Dias. May I request a sharing right?
Aditi, can you just help, sir?
Yes, it is there.
I hope the screen is visible.
Yes, sir. You can make it full screen, sir. Yes.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Arvind ji. It's a challenge to speak something about innovation after you, but I will try to attempt it with a very enlightening, enriching learning session after you. Prabhat Ranjan ji, Pujari ji and Neeraj ji. I would like to say about something on research innovation best practices and how we can have the innovation and IP-enabled platform. IP is intellectual property enabled platform that we can institute in universities and how we have done this. So that has been the right from the day one research. I would like to add one component to the word research here, and I will take this forward with the permission of Arvind ji. When we say research, we call about a transformational research because India needs research which is transformational, which will impact society, which will solve the problems of the society. Because there could be a fundamental research, but in the what I'm going to speak about and Vishwakarma University's Pune, talk about transformational research and innovation. I've been implementing this quick one. I will just skip through this. Of course, ASSOCHAM, we got the award Western India last year. Neeraj ji is there. Recently, we got a THE Times Higher Education Impact Ranking, and thanks to our model that is being used, that's the reason I'm showing this. We are the youngest university out of 1,200 universities to get this award in top 200 in SDG, Sustainable Development Goal, and also European Union ranking. So let me start with this national innovation system because I will put forth national perspective and then how our universities can contribute. So we are part of the triple helix, as we know, industry, academia, and government. And also there is one more strand to this, which is very important, as the society. And as a national innovation system, we need these three aspects: capital of human capital, capital of applied knowledge, and all of us see improved productivity. As a university, we are responsible to contribute in this innovation system of nation, and we are at the left and in between as the human. We are the human resource, and human resource is the most precious human resource. And we are here to create capital of applied knowledge and assist along with industry so that there is an inclusive innovation capacity. Again, taking this stand from Arvindji, inclusive innovation capacity is all the entire society is part of the innovation system, innovation mission. I will just put forth the context again. We are in the fourth industrial revolution, as all of us know. This has blurred the boundaries between digital and physical spaces. Also, there is a digitalization. It's a digital inclusion and digital access. All of us know in next 3 to 4 years, almost 4 billion plus people on this planet will be connected. So we are in the hyper-connected world. Post-pandemic is, as Professor Jeffrey Sachs said, it's a digital pandemic. So every single aspect, there is a E attached to this, e-conference, e-healthcare, so on and so forth. So as we are doing this. And this is going to change this. Pandemic has become a greatest equalizer. I don't have to speak about it. And therefore, we are in the new world order. As said, it's a new world order like in 1945 when we were at the beginning of the knowledge economy. Right now, we are in a similar stage as the Mr. Ray Dalio has stated. We are in the new world order. And therefore, there is a phenomenal chance for innovation. And in a way, we should consider ourselves very fortunate to see this part. I would directly come back to the academia and industry characteristics because when we talk about innovation, we have to understand the characteristics of each. So this is a busy slide, but I would like to quickly take you through this. On one side is a university, on other side is a industry. And university and industry, they have to work together to create value and innovation. So knowledge creation and dissipation has been the mission. Again, taking a clue from Arvindji, with your kind permission, we have been taught completely as a learning by rote. Our entire education system has been learning by rote and not learning by doing, so that we have 100 clerks. Therefore, it is only dissipation and then teaching, etc. On the right-hand side, industry is for profit, otherwise they won't sustain. And on the left-hand side, you see the priorities like research, grant seeking, publications, so on and so forth. And on the right-hand side, priorities are profit seeking, proprietary, patenting, and making a decision which will create value for society and value for the company, but also importantly, competitive advantage for any industry. Now, these are the two different characteristics. How do we meet them so that we create a model that is something which is sustainable, stable, and makes sense to each other? I'm just trying to put forth the drivers because in any of the collaboration, we need drivers because it has to have a shared vision of success and there has to be some common minimum part. So, these drivers, I will not go through this, but there is a university says research karna hai sir, funding hi nahi hai. Where is the funding come from? Correct. Then the real world problem. I would like to focus on this real world problem aspect. And again, I will take clue from Arvindji. Each of the slides spoke volumes. The first column there was exposure. And this is where we need to bring students exposure to the real life world problems of the society, problems of the industry, and not the problems as we academicians think is a problem. Because in that case, it is a fabricated or maybe imaginary problem which doesn't exist. Then the transformational research, faculty development, so on and so forth, and laboratories and curriculum, all parts. And so on the right-hand side, drivers are there with the industry. And what is now, I will just quickly try to present intellectual property and innovation enabled industry collaboration concept. Again, in the 4 quadrants that we have seen in Arvind's part, there was a quadrant, the arrow, of course, upward arrow was high IP, then there is a lower arrow with a low IP. And we have seen in the world, in the knowledge economy after 1945, the IP is a major driver for innovation, major driver to reward the inventors, major driver to reinvest and create socio-economic value for the countries. And it is well established, well proven. Classical examples of Japan, where GDP and filing of the patents has a direct relationship with that, correct? And the Korea also, and so on countries. And we have classical example of Cisco, companies like Cisco, IBM, who are very heavy. And why is this IP enabled part has to percolate in education part? Because please remember, there are 2 parts. One is patent is a document where world's 70 to 80% of the knowledge is in only patent databases, whether we like it or not, which is very much part of IP. And how do we use it? And how do we create a value for industry? That is the idea. And that's where we have come up with a model with a transdisciplinary center of excellence. The meaning of transdisciplinary is transcending the disciplines, cutting across the disciplines. Multidisciplinary is there are multiple disciplines, and supradisciplinary is again blurring the disciplines. Of course, our NEP is a great step forward, and we are proud of NEP because it propagates the value of multidisciplinarity. But we are taking it beyond in the form of center of excellence, wherein it's a center which is going to develop the innovation capacity along with industry. So I don't call it as industry and institute interaction. It is the industry and institute fusion, infuse. Industry has to infuse with this. And for this transdisciplinary center of excellence, one of the drivers is patent system along with others, and student enrichment and all. And I will explain you how this works and also provide you the tangible output of this, because it is not only the hypothetical part, it is something which is tangible. But these are the centers. And again, when we say transdisciplinary, the unique characteristics is it is discipline agnostic, because no problem in the society, no problem in the in any of our industry, it carries a discipline. So ये mechanical का problem नहीं है, ये computer का नहीं है, ये AI का नहीं है. Problem is a problem. It needs overall development, and that's where again our NEP talks about multidisciplinarity, the right convergence of the right brain and the left brain, that is a convergent thinking and divergent thinking, which is the need of the hour when we develop this. And again, I would like to quote Steve Jobs. So somebody asked him, of course not as a verbatim but in spirit, why these iPhones and iProducts are phenomenal, because he said these are not designed and developed only by engineers. There are so many other faculties who are involved. And I would like to take this, and also this relates to our 4th industrial revolution. We have to be mindful of the fact that there is a convergence of NBIC, nanotechnology, biotechnology, information technology, and cognitive science, NBIC, supported with R, which is robotics. Please remember, cognitive science, AI is a subset of cognitive science, because cognitive science is for ages, and AI is because of the new possibilities AI has emerged. So there is a convergence of NBIC, and this convergence is fully providing opportunity for two technology domains. One is emerging technologies, which are disruptive, which have uncertainty but fast scalability, and another is exponential technologies, which have enormous ability to impact the society. And that's where through these centers we are trying to provide. So the way the center works is the following. We call it as with COE, with industry collaboration. And the concept is industry on campus, because unless it's an industry or a university expert, we don't call it as a center. Then the second part is on the left hand, technical problem from industry. Unless there is a problem which industry endorses, technical problem, we don't even attempt to do this. Industry has to endorse it. It is a problem, and solving this problem will give us this value. That is where it works. The second part is we are in the beginning, therefore we call it as technology adaptation, development, or testing. However, we do not propagate or encourage any kind of a jugaad innovation. We want to work and we work in the deep technology, solving big problems. Therefore, all these technology adaptation, development, testing, defining deliverable is like a corporate, so that it is milestone based, it is deliverable based, it is defined within the framework of technology readiness levels, TRL. And we work in TRL up to 5 to 6, that is testing in operational environment. And therefore, these teams of students and faculty, they work together. Again, the student teams come from different, right from psychology in Vishwakarma University of Pune. We have 40 plus programs. So right from in one team, maybe a student from psychology, management, all these are multidisciplinary teams. Then the patent search is a integral part, because please remember, most of the inventions, 80% knowledge is in the patent database. And if we don't look at the patent database, we might end up in reinventing. And the value for the company like Cisco, if Arvind is there to evaluate project, he will say there are 10 patents here. There is no point for me to invest in you because I will get in trouble. Or otherwise it is already in public domain. Why do I need to pay you? As simple as that. Therefore, the first part is we don't want to reinvent either by chance or by design. No way. We can copy, but smart copy. It is not that verbatim copy. Therefore, we want to get clues. Therefore, we teach our students how to do patent search, how to do patent technology landscaping, how to do develop matrix maps with white space analysis. Therefore, we work only on the need, then follow the technology readiness level. It is well integrated in academics. Therefore, there are credits, so on and so forth. And our entire campus is treated as a living laboratory for testing in operational environment. That is the, I would say, operational model of the entire Transdisciplinary Center of Excellence. I will give some examples now because it otherwise becomes hypothetical. So we have collaborated with SAP, SAP, I360 Innovation Model. I must thank here Mr. Neeraj Atle, then Vice President. Now he is a Managing Director of SAP. And we worked with this vision and we created this lab. And idea is these are the areas, and we worked with the problems which are from the industry problems. So our 110 students work on this. Again, we know where our how much we know. Therefore, we took help of Mr. Neeraj Atle and SAP team to train our students to take it from TRLs, and our students and our faculty and SAP work for Volkswagen, for Tatas. We have worked all together, and these problems are solved and brought to the level where they have agreed. Our students got the this design hub, canteen, and all. I will not get into those detailed projects, but these are the students. We got a Z award also for this, where our students were fortunate to present their ideas and solutions to 100 plus CEOs in a Z Business Award, first of its kind. And these technologies are to the next level in the respective industries. Another part I wish to again reiterate here, these centers are provided to challenge each of the students and challenge their knowledge, challenge their wisdom, challenge their abilities, so that they think of the new things, correct? And the center is the safe net for the failures, because innovation is all about failures. And our mantra is please fail first, but fail fast in identifying new ideas, trying new ideas. Please don't take fail as the academic failure. Failure word is very badly taken here. I'm saying when you are inventing new things, you have to work on 150 and n number of new ideas and see whether ideas are tested or not. So fail first, fail fast, and that works for industry, because at the proof of principle level or at the ideation level, there is a likelihood of failure, which as a university we can absorb, because students, there is no price point on the time that they spend. Therefore, fail first, but fail fast and innovate. That is the mantra that we have done. Another center of excellence is with Vilo. Vilo Matharanplat is in Pune, and Vilo is in Germany. Vilo, they are in pump manufacturing giants, 1.5 billion euro plus. And you can see Professor Bullinger here. He is the chairman of Vilo Foundation and also senator of Fraunhofer. We have Center of Water Quality, Center of Excellence with Vilo. Same model, and we have worked on the water ATM that you see here. It's a contactless water ATM. that we have also adopted 5 villages, importantly under Unnat Bharat Abhiyan, where we deploy this technology and test it for socialization and adaptation. Very important part of this. In any technology development, again, accessibility, affordability, appropriateness is very important in India when we look at the bottom billion. So that part is there. This center is there. We have been working on the vertical sewage treatment plant, which is there. There are so many other student chapters and SDGs. I will not get into these details. And also there is a vertical sewage treatment plant being established. It is being tested, and it is a 1,000 liter per day system. It is not a bench scale model. It's an operational model, which we will test it on our campus and deploy. And we are working on several such projects like water dispensers and so on and so forth. So that is another example where students, faculty, and this. Another part is we are part of Global Sanitation Graduate School, which is based on IHE Delft and Asian Institute of Technology, funded by Gates Foundation, on again water sanitation hygiene to create ecosystem. Similar center is with Unity, because we know AR, VR, MR is the future. Gamification of academic content will be the future, because we are slowly moving towards blended model and digitalization. As again sir said, we don't want to just bulldoze data on students, just make them swallow the data, but try to make them how to make sense of the data, how to convert it into information, add your own wisdom, internalize it, internalize the process, so that there is an appropriate assimilation. And these are the technologies and tools which we are working with. So there is a Unity Center of Excellence for immersive technologies, and we are working with this student. Then there are so many activities, so on and so forth. Another center is with IS, Integrated Environment Solutions is one of the topmost companies. They create multi-physics models of the infrastructure to create energy efficient. Professor Dr. Don McLean, you can see him here. He is the inventor and founder of this from UK. We have the only center in India, and we work on digital twinning of the buildings and also energy efficiency evaluation of the building without actually getting into the building and trying to measure each of this. So this is the future of digital twinning. We see digital twinning happening. Again, this is the center which is very exclusive center, and our students and faculty work, and we work with industry. I will not get into those details. Another center is with design thinking and innovation with SUNY Binghamton, State University of New York at Binghamton. We have a very long-standing collaboration, and we work with industry. For example, one of the industries, we are developing oxygen generator for them at a price point less than 10,000 rupees. Otherwise, it is 30,000 plus. We have developed our design thinking process, which is being implemented in the part of it. Again, there are workshops and student integration and all those. Again, these are centers where any student, every student, any faculty can work 24/7. Another, I will not get into detail, but there is a center with C4I4, Center for Industry 4.0, with Department of Heavy Industry and other partners, industry partners, Accurate, Ultizon, which is there. We have solved some problems. We have designed centers, so on and so forth. I will not get into each of this. Another is Cage. I will skip this in the interest of time. So I am saying the last part is how do we work with industry? So it has to be collaboration, jointly achieving outcome. There has to be desire, then clarity on interaction, because university means everything free. No, we are ready to invest. Otherwise, it means nothing. Shared vision and compatibility, that's where it works. And other legal. Very important, we are also ISO 27001 because we work with European industry, and this is very important part of this, along with IP, all this. So that is the protection framework we created. And these are the approaches I just wish to take, new ideas. I will just take few minutes. Proof of principle simulation, project defined by industry, experiments, proof of concept, prototypes, and then we take it to industry about product development, market leadership, so on and so forth. That's what is the model. So I was saying these are the below this is on our campus. 10,000 liter LPD, 7 ton TDS. These are details. These are some of the again part. Epilogue is, of course, if we have to make this important and very important, it is not only about industry and all. The learnings of this need to be integrated in our teaching learning, because that is where we call it as an innovation-led university and not the data-led university. Otherwise, it starts from book. Book में ये दिया है, ये सिखाओ. Yes, books are there for fundamental concepts. We don't want to undermine, we have to respect. But that is one part. But of course, industry brings in that this is because industry pursues future. So what is the future? We have to bring it in present. And that learning we have to nourish. Therefore, what you know has to be applied. And that is the synergy that we want. Therefore, it's an enability, mindset and mission. Then internal capacity building, very important because faculty needs to be trained, critical mass of people, and compatibility of agenda where there is a clarity of goal, vision of success, and not to forget the baby step. Otherwise, everything looks very, very rosy, great papers, great MOUs, but something has to see and the baby steps. That's where I wanted to convey as a summarize, how we look at it as a national innovation system. NEP is a part of that. What is as a role of us and what is that we have done as a conceptual and operational framework in Vishwakarma University of in Pune. That's where I am very thankful to ASSOCHAM and all the esteemed dignitaries. It's really an honor to share dais with all dignitaries. Thank you for this opportunity. Have a nice day and please stay safe and take care.
ऐका ना, उद्याची मीटिंग फक्त आपल्यासाठी आहे ना, काउन्सिलर साठी नाही आहे ना?
Over to Neeraj or over to
म्हणजे आपल्याला कसं सांगू?
Thank you so much, sir. Your words of wisdom. We are very happy to listen to your various models of Center of Excellence, which will strengthen the culture of research and culture of excellence in the era which is coming now. Also, your thought of design thinking process for this advanced, what do you call, the process of NEP 20, which is really aligned with those. And another interesting thought is which you are given is E in everywhere, e-research, e-healthcare, e-everything, e-campus. So which is once again favorable word for all of us today. Again, once again, I thank you so much, sir, for your wonderful. So let us move to the next part. We have another eminent speaker who is there today in this particular panel and who has joined before everybody. That's more important. None other than our Vice Chancellor D.Y. Patil, Dean University, Mumbai, Dr. Prabhat Ranjan, sir. Sir, welcome you. I will just give you, instead of, due to the time, I have what is the Prabhat Ranjan sir's profile, a very big profile with me, but I will make it a start and to everybody. Professor Ranjan sir is a nuclear fusion scientist. He's a futurist. Some noise, I hope. Can we mute all?
I think noise is
13 एंगेज केले,
noise is coming.
अनटच आहेत त्यांची 38 अनटच आहेत, नॉट एंगेज 37 आहेत, म्हणजे तेच असणार ना ते.
हरीश प्लीज सी,
काही ठिकाणी थोडे ज्यादा आहेत तेच.
नॉइज कहां से आ रही है देखिए.
पण आता हे इक्वल असतील साधारण सेम, तर ती हेच असतील ना, सेमच असतील. चालेल, उद्याच आधी अनटच करायचे नंतर ना. ठीक आहे
हरीश प्लीज देखिए आवाज कहां से आ रही है. आई वुड रिक्वेस्ट एवरीबॉडी टू प्लीज गो ऑन.
राहिले एवढं करून तर ते पुन्हा ते सुद्धा बघायचं ना. चालेल, हो सांगतो. कमी आले 238 आहेत का. मॅडम थांबा, हे मग अशी असेल थोडा वेळापूर्वीच करायचं.
रामचंद्र जी प्लीज अनम्यूट योरसेल्फ. जी सर.
So Prabhat Ranjan sir is a nuclear fusion scientist, a futurist, an educator, an innovator, an entrepreneur, and a science communicator. For the last 5 years, he was heading India's technology think tank, Technology, that is Technology Information and Forecasting Assessment Council in Delhi, as its executive director. TIFAC is an autonomous body, Department of Science and Technology, who has given various parts of this country, higher education schools, the bigger project government of India. Now currently, Prabha Ranjan sir is the Vice Chancellor of D.Y. Patil Deemed University, Navi Mumbai. We welcome you, sir, for this August gathering. I request you to have your opinion on this particular forum. Sir, diet is yours. Dr. Prabha Ranjan sir.
Thank you. First, let me correct a mistake here. As you can see at my badge, I'm Vice Chancellor of D.Y. Patil International University in Pune.
Sorry, sir. Sorry. Pune. Okay.
Hope somebody can get that mic muted, which is still on conversation. So we have had a popular thing, Shweta, your mic is on.
Sorry, sir. Sorry. It is funny. Sorry.
Something happening like that.
Okay.
So let me give you a brief background of myself, important for this particular discussion. I started my education in a municipal school. Then, from age of 10, I was in a Gurukul style school called Netarhat School, near Ranchi. So I had to live in ashram. From there, I went to IIT Kharagpur, from there to Delhi University, and then to University of California, Berkeley, where also I did my research. When I came back to India, right after my PhD, I worked in national labs. Unfortunately, too much disturbance.
आदित्य सहा, अभिजित घडगे सहा, रम्या 10, मनोसर 5, अविनाश 8, भाग्यश्री पाटील 1, निखिल लांडगे 11.
I don't know how the noise is coming.
Harish, can you please mute everyone and then only unmute Professor Prabha?
इस तरफ देख रहे हैं. आई थिंक ये जो नॉइस है अटेंडीज में से कहीं आ रही है. वी आर लुकिंग फॉर इट. ये हमारे स्पीकर्स में से नहीं आ रही है. आई थिंक अटेंडीज में से आ रही है. वी आर लुकिंग फॉर इट, सर.
Yeah.
I would request all the attendees to please keep yourself on mute.
Please select an institute name.
हरीश जी, अटेंडेंसी को अनम्यूट कर दीजिए ना, प्लीज.
हाँ, MIT ADT University. आला. हो केली. कॅम्पेन डॅशबोर्ड आला ना.
Let me try. It's quite disturbing. Okay. So I was in national labs in US and India. In 2002, working on nuclear fusion. And then in 2002, I moved to a university set up by Reliance Group in Gandhinagar in 2001, Dhirubhai Ambani Institute of Information and Communication Technology. And from there, I moved to Delhi to head India's technology think tank. And for the last 3 years, I've been Vice Chancellor of the former Vice Chancellor of this particular university. So I'm going to share my experiences both as a student and as well as a faculty and researcher across these institutions. The good thing was that I've never studied at the same place twice. That means for 2 degrees, I have not studied the same place. I've had change of cities, countries, and that has meant that I've had wider exposure to work culture, research culture, education environment.
पहिला कॉल 52 दाखवतो. ग्लॅडवॉल 25.
Sorry, this disturbance is not going away, unfortunately. So, the first thing I will talk about is that when I was in my school, Ashram, Gurukul style school, Netarhat school, we used to live in ashram and all the work we used to do by hand. So we used to whether cleaning toilets, cleaning dishes, cleaning floors, that was an important part of our learning. The dignity of labor is a very important part. It's a socio-cultural aspect that we cannot ignore in the country. Today, from childhood, we train children not to work with hand. We ask them to study. And I'm sure that Arvind will agree with me that working with hand, giving value to working with hand is very, very important. When we go to US, we do all the work ourselves. We come back to India, we think working with hand is dirty. So I have a social movement, I call it 1-in-1. Please encourage children that at least 1 hour in 1 week they should work with hand and do things which we consider dirty. So that's an important learning that I had from that school. IIT Kharagpur, many things were there, even in 70s that I've gone 76. With open book exams, the different kinds of exams that were assessed were there. that was a very important learning for all of us at IIT Kharagpur. Today we are talking open book exam, but we had faced these things there itself. Delhi University was a different kind of model, large-scale education system. But as a physics department, we had professors who were willing to change things. Sometimes we had classes in the canteen. It was not important that you always have a fixed kind of settings, and we could also take courses across disciplines. Berkeley, of course, was a very good experience. Even in terms of examination, we have to have take-home exams. So, for example, you will be given a set of question papers. You can take home in 1 week. You can return it back, or there could be other modes of assessment. So it was not one way of assessing it. When I came back to India, of course, I was involved with research labs, and I was part of the leader of the nuclear fusion reactor. A thing that helped me, and I think Tawari also mentioned about this, working on real problems. So although my research work was all based on computer, at that time we had access to the fastest computers of the world in US during my. But when I came to India, there was no computer. I joined Science Institute of Calcutta, Science of Nuclear Physics, Calcutta. There was no computer. Only computer I had was the personal computer that I brought. So I get into getting the computers to be set up, and those are, of course, not as powerful as what we had in US. But the whole thing was that in addition to modeling, I realized that simply modeling is not going to solve problems. So I must make sure that whatever is required to solve the problems related to nuclear fusion, what I had to do, whether it was experiment, detection, control system, anything that had to be done, I had to learn and do it. And that was very useful. So around the age of 30, 1991 and so, I could actually get the reactor in Calcutta. That was the first reactor, nuclear fusion reactor in the country, working. And then I moved to Gandhinagar, and there also a reactor, nuclear fusion reactor that was set up in 89, was not working. And again, I had to get into many details. I cannot go into that. Those are interested can look into my blogs. And some of these projects will not come from textbook. And fortunately, in 5 days, I could actually get that reactor to work. And I was also project leader of that reactor. And another reactor that was being set up, a superconducting tokamak, as we call it, I was also project leader of data acquisition for the control and operation group. Each of these, what we found was that what your textbook knowledge was there, what we taught as a physics student, was of course important, but you have to learn from different disciplines, and many of them have learned from rural experiences. For a major problem I solved when I saw how hand pumps were installed in my village, and from there I learned how to solve a major problem that was affecting 80% of discharge. So there's a lot of learning that we need to do by observing things around it. It's not simply textbook learning. That's very important. Then, again, I'm not going to any details, time is short. In Gandhinagar, when Dhirubhai Ambani Institute of Information and Communication Technology was set up in 2001, I was involved from very early stage, and full time I joined in 2002 summer. Many experiments we did. One of them was not having any departments at all. There was no department system, so it was department-less, which meant that I, coming from a physics background, could actually develop courses which are related to the computer networks or embedded system or sensor network. And very quickly, we could actually become world-renowned in the kind of work we're doing because we are focusing on real problems, as Professor Tawari mentioned. For example, I was working on India's moon mission. I was working on solving wildlife problems, wildlife tracking issues. And also, very importantly, I got involved with helping people with severe disability. And that was something that has given the maximum pleasure. I'm involved where I could see that the work I'm doing could change the life of a person within a few hours. And this was all, so I did not put any label on myself that I was PhD in physics. I had to learn from any source that was possible. And thanks to internet today, the role of teacher has changed and the role of students has also changed. Students no longer have to depend on teachers for learning. And so teacher's role is no longer sales on the stage, it is guide on the side. It's not that you stand on a high pedestal and give lectures to us, and that's the only thing that students will be learning. So this we have to realize in our education system. In Delhi, when I was there, we developed this particular document that I would like to flash, Technology Vision 2035. Technology Vision 2035. Same institute, TIFAC, was headed by Dr. Kalam from 93 to 2001. In 1996, Technology Vision 2020 was made. And I was fortunate when I was heading the institute, TIFAC, from 2013 to 2018. And this particular document, Technology Vision 2035, was developed during my tenure. During my tenure, Dr. Anil Kakotkar was chairman of our governing board. This document was prepared by us along with a large number of more than 200 experts all across the country. It's a set of 13 documents, a main vision document, and then 12 documents in different sectors. And I had put education right on the top. So in fact, there's a little booklet that we have included in the document. And if you see in that, I have put education right on the top. That was because I felt that education is the key to success of the country. And we actually prepared a document. It was launched. In fact, it was launched in Pune itself. And what happened was that this document, as Dr. Arvind was discussing about economic manufacturing capability of the country, I very much agree with him. In fact, it's not only 1820, but you go from first AD onward, first AD to 1800, India and China were in the top two. And mostly it was India which was, on the upper side as compared to China. And as he rightly pointed out, that as we became colony from 1800 to 1850, it dropped to almost 2% of global manufacturing. In spite of independence, we have not come out of that thing. We are improving a little bit. Slowly, as he said, that maybe by 2050, we should be doing much better. But when we're preparing this document, in fact, I have a blog that I will refer the audience to, which I'm talking about how India is losing huge amount of wealth. And that is because when the industrial revolution was taking place in Europe, raw material was going to Europe, it was being processed there, and the value-added product was coming back to India. And this is the thing that is going on even now. We are still losing a lot of money. We worked on a particular product called guar gum. Guar beans are very popular in Rajasthan and also in Maharashtra to some extent, guar. And we're losing about 50,000 crores rupees per year just because we don't do value addition of guar gum, which is the powder that we make out. This is used in oil and gas production in US. And actually, we don't do value addition. We don't do the chemical processing that is required to do that. I'll not go into that, but you're interested, you can look. So a lot of raw material is going out of the country. This is our industrialization 1.0, which actually did this. And Dr. Siddharth was mentioning about IP, and also Dr. Sitaram actually was mentioning about this. I would like to say that why India was better earlier was because of IP was not there. This was distributed manufacturing. So distributed manufacturing, then it went to centralized manufacturing in the industrialization 1.0, as we call it now. And still we have been continuing, but now distributed manufacturing is again coming back. And no, I don't think both of you touched on that. Distributed manufacturing is going to key to India's success, and that is where we need to focus. And today the technology is coming in, the role of IP is going to become less and less actually. Because once you're distributed manufacturing, no single person can control something. So now we need to focus on that part. So this particular document, as Dr. Arvind was mentioning, we have not talked about GDP here. We have not talked about money. We have not about rich and poor. We don't talk about India becoming a 40 or 50 trillion economy by 2050. What we discussed in this document was quality of life of Indian citizens. When I talk about Technology Vision 2020, Dr. Kalam, this is his last breath. I met him in 2013 when I joined IFAC, and we had a very interesting discussion. 2015 was the last I heard of him. He talked about developed India. That was what we had talked about till his last breath. I heard him in fact, I think probably it was ASSOCHAM convention only in Delhi 2015. And afterwards, unfortunately, we had to go and pay our last respect to him when we lost him. But this particular document moved from developed India to developing quality of life of Indian citizens. We don't talk about money. We don't talk about other countries. We only talk about Indians, their quality of life. It does not matter where we are, whether we're in hill, we are in the sea. Each person's quality of life is important. How do we meet the quality of life requirement? That is what we are discussing in this particular document. So although it says Technology Vision 2035, I would have liked to call it India Vision 2035. It's a vision for the country and its citizens. And then, of course, the technology has a role to that. So we have discussed technology into that. We have also identified many grand challenges. I'm not going to that, but I'm happy to tell you that many of the grand challenges that we have put in this has already been taken up at the highest level. So the national scheme on anemia, Bharat, nutrition India, and many other things that we mentioned have been taken up. Now let's coming back to higher education. So all this background helped me. I was also part of AICT's one committee, perspective plan committee, to bring new technology areas, emerging technology area into India's technical education. And I was a member of that in 2017. We had discussed on this. There was a committee report of that. And 2018, following that, I happened to be the founder vice chancellor of this particular university. Being a founder vice chancellor, you have both opportunity as well as challenge. Because you are trying to set up everything from ground. We had the campus, but the university was new. We had to start from scratch. But I took the challenge. And what we had to do was to actually create a new system which challenged the existing system. As was mentioned, that either you don't take risks, you say that I will follow what is being done. And one of the popular things we do is that we want stamps of various organizations. So AICT, NBA, UGC, XYZ, stamps of industry, stamps of government agencies. And we show that this is my credibility, that this institution or that institution or this industry has given me a stamp. Okay? This is what we do. But actually we need to focus on the curriculum, the system. Can we do that? Our parents of the students or the students are not very easy to convince. They like to see the building, a glittering building. They like to see big names. So how do you change that? Regulatory bodies, as is mentioned, till recently was only to make you conform to their system. If you change from that little bit, they will say, no, we don't approve this. And everybody wants approval. The stamp is important, license us. So I had to take that challenge, and thanks to my management. What we did was to actually design a computer science engineering curriculum in 2019, we launched. 2018, we started planning for that. I got some time for that, fortunately. I opened up my discussion to social media on LinkedIn, to Facebook. I was surprised to see more than 50,000 views on what we planned and hundreds of comments from all over the world. The news that it didn't cost me anything, it didn't need any effort, but all that input came into before we finalized the program. I told AICT I don't require your approval. Of course, not in that way. It was in a more friendly way. But I said that I'm going to share what we have planned to do. If you like something of it, you can use it. Otherwise, fine, not a problem. As a university, I would like to use my freedom to create a new curriculum. And I was surprised when AICT actually sent me an appreciation letter saying that this program is very good and how it's going to help. This was very surprising to me because normally government institutions do not think that anybody else outside what they are thinking is good. Fortunately, AICT changed. They sent me an appreciation letter about this program and formed a committee to revamp computer science, revamp technical education, bringing new emerging technology areas, as well as to revive the computer science curriculum of the country, and I was a member of that. An interesting thing that happened was the discussion that happened and follow-up things. In 2020, at least 5 to 6 new courses were started by AICT, which changed completely the country's curriculum of the computer science, engineering, and related areas. So we had not thought from that point of view, but took a bold step that we wanted to create something new which we felt was important, and it has spread all across the country, including my campus and hundreds of campuses across the country. Few more things I would like to mention. In fact, on that pattern only, then 2020 we started new programs like BTech Bioengineering, MBA Digital Business, our design. All of these are on what we call multi-track system. I'm not going to go into details of those. But a few points I'd like to mention. One was that all of these have first 2 years are common courses, and last 2 years are the specialization track that students can choose. They don't have to make this choice at the time of admission. What we have done in this, for example, if I look at computer science, we started with Python as the programming language because that is the choice of artificial intelligence today that is driving computer science. Second semester, we brought design thinking course that was also mentioned by some previous speaker, but also a fabrication lab where students are being exposed to 3D printers, laser engraver, CNC machine, all of this is they have to work with all of these. And it's not only computer science students, it is design students, it is bioengineering students, all of them have to do this. And actually I'm happy to also tell you that AICT picked up this and the similar concept of Idea Lab, which I'm actually chairing the National Steering Committee of AICT to set up Idea Labs across the country to make sure that students can work with hand. And we are setting up, I think, plans to set up 250 we have finalized. Shortly we are going to announce that. And this is to make sure that students can work with hand. One more concept that we have brought in, which is very important, and Arvind will agree with me that one of the reasons why India grew fast in the IT sector was access to computers as the home of people and the internet. But actually, when you come to hardware, you don't have that access. Going to lab is difficult. You don't have access to lab all the time. So I brought in a concept, I call it lab in the bag concept. That means, can you have lab in your bag? So just like you have laptop and mobile phone and internet, can you carry a lab with you? So there's a particular product, and there are other products, also similar products, national instruments that are used, which you, it's like a smartphone device of that same size, you connect through USB port, and all the instruments that you have in electronics lab or embedded system like oscilloscope, function generator, logic analyzer, input output, analog input, digital input, all of that is available to you right on your computer wherever you want. You can work in home, you can work outside, you can work in your class. This is the lab in the back concept. And we are doing the same thing in our formal lab also. So we are not saying to students that you will do something here and you will do something else in home. You exactly have the same thing in your lab and same thing with you. So you think that you have access to a full thing. This is a big game changer, because I feel that once the students have access to this, today all the students have access to Arduino, Raspberry Pi, and so on. All of this, they have access from school days. But this lab facility is becoming very important, and I feel that it's going to be combined with the dignity of labor, going to be very important. We also actually bring in technology commercialization entrepreneurship that Dr. Siddharth will very appreciate in third semester itself, to make sure that they can set up companies right in the first 2 years of their education. A few other things that we have done is that internships are a very important part. In Gandhinagar, we started at a set of 3 internships. First one was focused on rural internship. I have modified that a little bit. It's the rural, societal, and small industry problem. The idea is that students will observe problems. Otherwise, today you ask the students to open a project, they do a Google search. They don't see problems around them, in their family, in society. So how to observe problems? That is the first one, just to observe the problem. The second one, after second year, is industrial internship, where you use a known knowledge to solve an industry problem. And third one is a research internship, where you develop new technology or new applications or new knowledge. That's part of research internship. These are the 3 sequences of internship that are there. One more thing we have done is that we have set up a school of interdisciplinary studies and research. And there all the PhD programs are part of interdisciplinary studies and research, so that no barriers come. So as was being mentioned about interdisciplinary, multidisciplinary, transdisciplinary, superdisciplinary, whatever superdisciplinary, actually you break these barriers of discipline. Research today does not see any barriers from any discipline, because otherwise you get stuck in a particular discipline, you will not be able to research. So we have done that. One more interesting thing that we have done, and it follows what Dr. Siddharth mentioned. When we looked at industry academia collaboration, we always talk about industry helping academia. I always say that actually it's the academia which should be taking the upper hand, not the industry. It should be first done in academia. Industry should follow later on. As Arvindji will say that US, this is what exactly happens. The initial work is done in the academia, later on the industry takes it up on larger scale. So actually, in India, what is happening, the center of excellence, maximum of them, are actually used to train the students in their technology so that they are useful when they join the industry. They're already familiar tools. The industry does not have to, train them in the product tool. What we said that no, that is not the right thing. Can industry set up a research center in the university where industry employs people? Industry employees are there along with faculty and students of the university to participate in that, but at least the industry investing in cutting-edge technology areas. And this means that actually you can work at low cost in the university environments, looking at the initial stage of problem, and then maybe out of 10 problems, only 2 are interesting. That industry can take up its own, or with the help of faculty members. As time is short, I would just like to mention that I was not expecting this to happen. But as the COVID era, not only it brought a lot of loss of family, friends, and all of our destruction, but also the fact that the way we are connected today has also made us globally connected. So today, place, time, date is not a matter. So I think last few months, we have been able to start research projects of the highest level. I'm come from nuclear fusion. In last October or November, we got a request from Silicon Valley. Innovator investor, Dr. Akash Singh, wanted to start a nuclear fusion program. He requested me to start. For the first time in the country, nuclear fusion program outside the national lab we have taken in this country. And I'm happy to announce that I'm mentoring that particular program. We hire people hired by the industry, which is working in our campus. Of course, right now due to COVID, we have to send them back home. And worldwide, actually, there's a lot of development happening in nuclear fusion. The private industry has come in a big way. And actually, one of the problems that I'm going to face is policy issues of the country. In the US and the UK, it's already private industry being supported, being discussed. Similarly, we are working on solving chronic health problems. I'm also mentioning that program again, funding coming from US. We're also working on a reversible geoengineering project to solve global warming, again, in collaboration with a few of the US inventors. We're also looking at helping farmers in US and India through space technology. Again, request came from US. So these are problems, not small problems, but large problems of global importance. And fortunately, all of this started where industry is setting up research center in our campus. It is not center of excellence in the usual sense that we use. I think I will stop at this point, but thank you to ASSOCHAM and for PERA for giving this opportunity. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir, for wonderful words of wisdom. What a thought. We are really very much lucky to hear. There is, before going to that, your thoughts were with the quality of life for the Indian, the kind of institution of excellence, the kind of future thoughts, the kind of futuristic, scientific oriented thoughts. They were really thoughtful, and we hope. And also, you have touched the vision of Dr. Kalam, sir. What kind of vision he had. You are lucky enough to had a wonderful collaboration with Dr. Kalam. I'm really happy to listen to that, sir. There is small thing in case of Tamil, they say, Ullava tellam urvayurlam matrudu tallinam tallamai nirtum. Meaning is that keep your thoughts always higher and try to achieve them. Even though they couldn't be achieved, do not lose the hope. So that was the actual hope of our Indian, scientist. That is one among that is Dr. Prabhat Sandan, sir. Sorry that I have seen in the...
Just mention one statement since you mentioned this. What we always said that we have to keep our head above the cloud, but our feet grounded.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Wonderful. Wonderful. And sorry, sir, I have seen in that ASSOCHAM, your address was with Navi Mumbai. Sorry, we have pronounced that instead of Pune, 2 times I pronounced with known and Mumbai. So let us move to now. Thank you, sir, once again for your wonderful words of wisdom. Thank you, sir. So we have some questions from the audience. This first question to Dr. Prabhat Sandan, sir, and also Javade, sir. NEP 2020 puts lots of stress on research and innovation. And considering most universities in India are teaching universities, what are the recommendations to these universities on actively engaging in research? Also, most faculty members are good in teaching, but not to be competent enough to undertake quality research. What are your views on this? Either Javade sir or Prabhat Sandan sir. Sir, you unmute, sir, please. Prabhat Sandan sir, you unmute.
Who will?
Yeah, anybody. Yes, sir, please.
Yeah, so actually I didn't mention this, but when the NEP committee was set up, we already released our education sector document. So we had a half-day discussion with the custodian committee along with Dr. Kakotkar and our whole team that worked on education sector. So lots of what has gone into NEP 2020 document is actually what we have done already. So as you might have noticed, and maybe those who have followed the US system, there's a lot of influence of US system in the NEP 2020. It's a very flexible program that they have in US. So one important thing that is suggesting to remove is this affiliating college system. to universities affiliating colleges where one university declares 500, 600, 900 colleges, then what the curriculum is going to be and how examination is going to be, all that, that is being removed. Second important part is that it is talking about not having educational institutes of single discipline. So it's a multidisciplinary campus of 5,000 minimum students, and then they have tried to classify into 3 different categories. So actually the multidisciplinary culture with minimum 5,000 actually number of students on the campus is important. Right now you see that because of various rules, regulations, the regulatory bodies, in my campus itself, I have a number of colleges affiliated to Pune University, one focusing on, say, MBA program, one focusing on engineering, some on architecture, number in pharmacy. Actually, that does not promote interdisciplinary work. And research is, as I mentioned, that it's very important for interdisciplinary research and all the other things that happen. One more point I forgot to mention, I should mention this, that I have also made sure that faculty members, when they have their cabins, same discipline faculty don't sit next to each other. Let them be mixed. In the US, there is a concept called bumping area, that most of the research that happens, you bump into each other unintentionally, not in meeting rooms. We make sure that people who are meeting with each other are not necessarily always of the same discipline. So we need to promote this in our research, in our campuses. And there are many other aspects that I think the time is short, including the way government is funding research. I've been part of those, but actually private institutions are not being paid proper attention. Not going to those details right now, but it has to be based on merit, and there have to be incentives. Actually, I'm also promoting incentive to my faculty members for consultancy and research in ways like US, for example. One example I'll take from there is that the faculty universities paid only 9 months salary, 3 months salary in the summer they can earn from research projects. There's a cutthroat competition to get projects, and that's why the quality of research projects goes up. So these are many things that have to be done within the system, Indian system. So, for example, in US, the research funds allow the faculty member to get 3 months salary out of that. In India, the funding from government does not allow you to do that because we are being paid for 12 months. So we need to make the changes to make sure that we have financial incentive as well for research projects, and leave it to Dr. Siddharth to handle the rest. Yeah. Thank you.
I think it relates to how do we foster the research ability in teachers. In my opinion, point number one, one is we have to accept the fact that in India always there has been majority of the institutions stroke universities are in the teaching zone, teaching universities. So point number one, and there is nothing wrong because that time it was a priority and now we are in that our researches. Point number one, we have to create an ecosystem by the respective institute and universities, because unless ecosystem is created, these kind of policy decisions cannot profuse or infuse. The meaning of ecosystem is, again, in the other terms, as one of the Professor Emeritus, Professor Ganguly says, learning green pastures. That means we create these for around faculty members. Point number three, capacity and capability development of the faculty members is the responsibility of us as leaders, and in collaboration with industry like Arvindji, like ASSOCHAM, because faculty needs to be trained, and also the change in the mindset is important, because gone are the days where there is a information dissipation in the class. In fact, information is available, what to do with the information and interaction. Therefore, faculty will need to follow the contours of change and bring in their research agenda and then integrate it through the different part. Point number 5 is, in this faculty capacity and capability development, creating a mechanism and right platform so that if I am a faculty from, say, psychology or art and design, I understand and develop my research theme and bring these faculty members together in a group so that they can work as a peer-to-peer exchange of knowledge, peer-to-peer transfer of belief, and as a group and as a collaboration. And that's where the collaborations with other universities also help, so that there is a platform. Point number 6 is, it has to be a combination of policy top-down and working bottom-up. Policy top-down means management decides these are the policies. This is the reward system, as Prabhat Ranjan sir said. This is where the framework is. This is how this is considered to be in full-time equivalent and so on and so forth. And working bottom-up is to the lowest level faculty, we need to give them confidence that this is not something going on Moon and Mars. You are capable of doing it, you can do it, and create this so that working bottom-up and policy top-down, they synergize to create this entire ecosystem. And the last part is patience, patience, and patience, because we can't do it today and tomorrow morning we start with this, because it's a culture, and any culture, the meaning of fundamental of culture is a practice. Repeated practice becomes a culture. So if it becomes part and parcel of every faculty's teaching, learning, and life, and the entire education systems part, then it becomes a culture, and then it will be a research intensive or research and innovation intensive university, and there are various those ways. Therefore, there is a plan, and then one has to move forward. And the last part I wish to state here, that every faculty member has equal opportunity and ability to conduct research the way research is done in the top 5 or 10 universities. It is only, are we believing in ourselves? Correct. If we believe in ourselves, then everything falls in place, because every entire system will fall in place. But if there is we don't believe that I can't do this, then it is very important. So it's important to take first step. We are with them to take 10 further steps. Thank you.
Ramu, I know the question was addressed to Professor Siddharth and Professor Prabhat. I would want to add a couple of points here. See, I think they covered all the issues that they are facing today. But the biggest focus in many Indian universities seems to be that how do I get corporates to participate with me so that I can go forward? So let me relate a couple of examples I had. In 2008, I think, I had the good fortune to host the entire CS faculty of Stanford University to come to Bangalore. Now, each of those professors were worth several $100 million, personal wealth, which they creating technologies from within the campus, using students to build these technologies. And several of the students went on to become entrepreneurs themselves, sometimes some of them becoming billionaires. Okay, that didn't stop these people from researching. There are several things that one can do themselves. For example, if you see language translation, it is not in any company's immediate interest, to do translation software for languages. But it is in our interest as a country to build this kind of a technology. Now, in the next 5 years, though, artificial intelligence and machine learning are going to need this kind of technology to go forward. And guess what? There are two companies that have spent a lot of time and money building it, Microsoft and Google. You go to their translators and it's phenomenal. They've covered almost every Indian language and every language in the world. Now, why aren't we doing that? Our universities doing that? We don't need a company to tell us to do it, but we can do it, and we can then build the artificial intelligence, machine learning on top of it, and build that as a business practice to go forward, right? So, in fact, there is one university I'm working with right now to develop the Hindu calendar. If you go to Android or iOS, you will see Islamic calendar. You will see the Christian calendar, which we are using today, all of us use. Then you see the Chinese calendar, okay? You don't see a Hindu calendar anywhere. So I'm working with now it is not in the company's interest to build it because there's no money to be made there. But imagine if a university were to build it and they were to insert it, it transforms the people dramatically in terms of what they use. They are aware that there's something called a Hindu calendar. They can start, using the Hindu calendar for their own purposes and so on and so forth. But more importantly, it builds certain capabilities and capacities within their universities where the students who work on that unique concept is work on the transformational innovation that Professor Siddharth that you were talking about, that you were doing. It's very, very important. And, Professor Prabhat was talking about using their hands. This is using their hands, using their minds for your local issues, local problems, and building on top of that. I wanted to pitch in and say that.
I just wanted to mention something, Dr. Arvind mentioned. When we were working on Technology Vision 2035, one of the problems that we identified was that India has multiple languages. And all the language translation that is being done, what happens, the pivot language is typically English. So if you want to translate from Hindi to Marathi, you'll do from Hindi to English and then English to Marathi. So what we said that this is wrong. We need to have a different system where actually pivot language could be something else. We had a whole discussion on this. Of course, there was divided opinion, but we later on we took it up to government also, and we had discussion with various educational institutes as well as Microsoft, Google, and others. Now, happy to tell you that Google has taken ahead, and now they have language translation among Indian languages,
Right.
not going to English, and that is working much better. And as the AI is increasing, so this is going to be very important, and also part of our thought process in the document was to make sure that every child has access to information, learning resources in the language of their choice. So they learn the knowledge and not the language. So this is going to be a very important part of this process that we are doing now of language translation, especially the accuracy of language translation is improving tremendously.
Yes. The wonderful answers by all three. As you all say, is that the research discovers, explains, and evaluates new knowledge, idea, and the technology, essentially in driving the future of society and humanity. As you said, without research, a relevant and modern curriculum does not exist. Educational research helps the student to apply their knowledge to a practical situation. Thank you, sir. I have one last question to Mr. Arvindji. It is request you to kindly share your view point on the kind of open innovation taking place in our country, that's India, and what do you think Government of India should do in order to support the innovation taking place in Indian SMEs?
See, I had proposed when I quit Cisco in 2014, I wanted to dedicate my life to innovation and try to work with a lot of young people and create things. The issues that I had, some of the proposals that I had made was the Indian government should fund certain startups because it has to jumpstart the startup industry. The unfortunate thing that has become is that, in typical Indian style, it has become peanut buttered, where, you're not focusing on worthy startups that would require an injection of, say, $100 million or something to go to the next stage, or even a startup seed fund. They started creating these innovation centers that any university can set up. So it's typical bureaucratic style. They said, you need to have so many square feet of space, you need to build up space, and then we'll give you some money to add to that. Now, that's okay for established universities, but it does not promote innovation from garages. Hewlett-Packard started in a garage. Now, why? Because two engineers thought that they had an idea and they wanted to do something spectacular. Now, I'm so happy to hear both Professor Prabhat and Professor Siddharth talking about how they're encouraging hands-on and innovation within their campuses. But we should allow students to take up interdisciplinary self-study courses that span, say, 6 months or 1 year, where they are actually creating a product. And when they create the product, they should be in a position to take it to market. In fact, I've worked with 2 universities in India to set up an innovation school of innovation, where they would actually have a campus where the startup company can be housed for the first 2 years or so on. And I'm working with MIT also too, and Professor Kannad has been promising that he will do this, right? So those kinds of things are excellent to jumpstart the startup system. And the government should basically write a check and say that, okay, I'm going to write you a check. I'm going to expect these kinds of things from you. It is not bureaucratic things such as, I want you to build so much square feet of space, but I expect so much output from you in terms of patents, products, companies, and none of them may be monetizable. That's okay. None of them may hit $1 billion. That is okay. But they need to write these checks to do it. But in India, we are very good at gaming the system. When such a, gravy train has been created, we know how to suck it out of the system. So there'll be enough people who will build huge facilities. And I've gone to enough universities in India to see there are no, they on paper, they have something like 30,000 students. On campus, they will have 2,000 students. Okay. They say they have the latest library. You go in there, all the library books, not a single book has been touched, because you can touch it and you will see the dust on it. They'll have huge computer facilities, and none of the computers are allowed to be used because they're scared the kids are going to break them. Okay, so they have science labs where nothing, I mean, you can actually run your finger and you'll see the dust on it because nobody has touched any of these instruments. And, I'm so happy to hear Professor Prabhat talk about this lab in your backpack idea. Okay, this is the kind of thing that one needs to do, and the government should just fund it instead of funding people free TVs and useless things that governments do. They should give the students startup cash, and there's a Mudra scheme is a good scheme. With 10,000 rupees where you can start something new. It's a good scheme, but you need to have a cadence put in there so that people are not gaming the system and sucking money out, which many, as we can talk amongst ourselves. We are all Indians and patriotic Indians, and we can say that we know how to game the system very well. And we need to make sure that there are cadence around it. But how did China produce so many patents? How do they produce these things? They've been writing checks. They identify people, they create a cadence of people who are successful in business, in universities, in research, and patenting. Get them and create a cadence, and then say, identify the individual and the ideas that they have and fund them. Funding can be as little as, say, 2 lakh rupees. It could be as much as, say, $200 million. Those are the things I think the government of India really do. And one other thing I must say, those Indian companies, the unicorn companies that Chinese have investments in, what the government of India needs to do is buy out that stake and throw those guys away. And then the government owns that thing. Now it is invested in the company, in those countries, and be a very silent spectator, not necessarily put a bureaucrat in to make sure that there is enough bureaucracy in the startup company, but as an observer, as a supporter, and then sell those stakes later on as a disinvestment policy. That's what they should do.
Thank you so much, Arvindji. Wonderful and straightforward reply to the query. And as a chairman, I request you to kindly.
Just if I may, one minute, I want to take this open innovation.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Just 1 minute. As an open innovation, rightly said, it is at an early stage. We can go to the market and have the acid test of the market. Don't wait for TRLs 10, 8, 9. And that's where the ideation bank and the idea bank is important, which will be pitched, and the users are part of the very much process of the co-creation in this entire part. And one of the initiatives that, just as Arvindji said, we have worked with DCF Ventures, who are establishing startup ecosystem in Vishwakarma University in part, so that we have the ideation part of this, and we move on with the exploration part of how this will be successful, any idea leading to practice, and try to accelerate it as a co-creation part with the quadruple helix. This is very important concept, so that we hit the market at the earliest as a collaboration, cooperation, and operation mode. Wonderful.
Thank you, Siddharth sir. If everybody done, I request chairman of the panelists, this particular panel today, Mr. Arvind Sitharaman sir, to conclude his remarks with the whole session.
Okay. First of all, thank you so much, ASSOCHAM, for creating such a forum. I think you need to create more of it, and you need to create very active sessions and show success stories, right? That are there in the industry as well, and let people know that success is there. And Pera for taking this initiative, and Dr. Mangesh too for having created such a beautiful forum for people to share. I would say that for part of innovation, we need to focus on 3 things. And I think we discussed all of them in multiple different things. One is get students to experiment, use their hands, as Professor Prabhat said, but also use their brains to do something and let them fail. I think that is very, very important. Second is we need to have industry collaborated research and research center, as Professor Siddharth was talking about, and doing it very well, it looks like. that is very good, but I think we also need to create enough ideas within ourselves, get teachers to be more innovative, creative, inquisitive, and build that kind of inquisitiveness among students and encourage them to, to create something of their own. So it can be a completely out of the world, left field idea. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it's not, marketable. It doesn't matter if it does not work. The point is that they really tried to do something unique, because with such failures becomes something great. The third thing, I think we need to also, as a community of people who are very interested in this country and for this country's growth, to also tell the government that they, and a little aggressively too, to tell the government that they need to participate, not from a bureaucratic monitoring management angle. And I know that Professor Prabhat has been very brave telling AACT that we'll create. I think Professor Chandrabudhe being there would have helped you a lot, because he is very forward-thinking individual. So, if somebody like that is there and they can think ahead, that's great. But then if you have a true bureaucrat sitting there, then it is going to be very, very hard. So we need to tell the government in a very constructive, forceful terms, and they need to participate and encourage innovation, not in terms of building buildings, but building ideas, building institutions, building new companies that may or may not succeed. That's okay. But we need to try and build a cadence system around it, so that the money that they spend is targeted and useful for the country going forward. So with these concluding remarks, thank you, Dr. Ramu. I prefer to call you old friend, but for organizing all these things and including me in this conversation.
Thank you so much, Arvindji. As there is a saying, perfection of human nature is to be all or end to be all. So we need to ensure where we supposed to be. As Prabhat Ranjan sir says very clearly, that research without other things scientifically, we cannot make the education system to be that the higher level, and we cannot bring that level. So one has to understand where is the values of this research and development. Thank you, all eminent personalities, Dr. Prabhat Ranjan sir, Arvind Sitaraman sir. Sir was accepted our. He never allowed me to say sir, but I'm so sorry, as you said rightly. And we are with this kind of era, and he is such a human being who is always with the kind of the research and research activities. He wholeheartedly accepted even the invitation from our university to ensure the kind of research and innovation, the support for our university. And also Siddharth sir, really it was amazing. I am listening from Siddharth sir. Most of the foreign the words and the international collaboration center of excellence, So overall, I can say today's the whole system, this has made culture of research excellence in this particular one. One has to understand that. So thank you so much for this wonderful August gathering. Due to the unavoidable circumstances, Dr. Mangesh Karat sir was unable to join. But anyway, the record message we will have, and he will ensure he will talk to you people personally on that. And now I request Mr. Arora ji to have a vote of thanks for this particular program.
Thank you so much, Ramachandra ji. Thank you so much. And before my vote of thanks, I would like to share the message which I have received from one of the attendees. He has mentioned we witnessed a very nice, interesting session on the first session of the webinar series, and the speakers were very knowledgeable and delivered very effective session. So congratulations all the speakers for the wonderful session. We are receiving many compliments, many good messages on the chat box regularly. So the session was really, really wonderful. Although we missed Mangesh Karatji, but the session was really, really wonderful. And the information and the knowledge shared by Arvind Sitaraman ji, Professor Siddharth ji, and Prabhat Ranjan ji was really, really amazing. So thank you so much, all the eminent speakers. On behalf of ASSOCHAM, Vishwakarma University, MIT Art, Design and Technology University, Pune, and DY Patil deemed to be University, Pune, and PERA, I would like to give my vote of thanks, my gratitude to all the eminent speakers, and most of all, Dr. Ramachandra ji, for the wonderful moderation, sir.
Thank you
It was
so
really very lively program and very interactive. So thank
I
you so
must-
much.
I must thank ASSOCHAM because you people have organized the wonderful day. This is where. And if I won't thank Dr. Prashant Balaji, if I feel in that who is the president of this educational technology under the ASSOCHAM. Thank you so much, Aroraji, again. And once again, I thank you all the eminent speaker and other people. And also I thank our PERA CEO, Mr. Hanuman Pawar. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Ji.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Namaste. Namaste. Please send the link of this recording if you can, please.
Yes,
Sure.
please.
Yes, sir.
Thank
Arvind,
you.
I'll send to you. No problem.
Ji.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Namaste.
Bye.
Namaste.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you, Siddharth.